Do it for me. Do it for me, Stu. Do it for me, Stu. Christina Whoterberry, Whoville's teen icon. You cannot convince me otherwise. I've always felt like this character gets a little overshadowed by Martha May Whovier. And I mean, to be fair, Martha May is way more of a main character than Christina is, but you see Christina first, and she is clearly the Barbie, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera of Whoville, and I respect that, and I love that, and she is a moment. Not only is she a pink queen, but she also hikes up Mount Crumpet and isn't even winded when she gets to the top. If like this aesthetic is not my goal, then her level of fitness definitely is. I don't want to keep you waiting. Remember that in this house we craft in pajamas. Let's get to it. Okay, so I'm at my favorite secondhand shop and I'm looking for things that are really specific, and sometimes that doesn't work out very well because you never really know what you're going to find. But I'm on the lookout for a pair of pink pants or white pants that I could dye pink. And a few pink accessories, and also maybe some fabric if I can find something good. But that's my plan, and wow, that is a strange van. You know, that makes sense because the guy that came out of the store, I thought that's a strange man, and he drives a strange van. But anyways, that's the thrift store experience right there. About 6 months ago, I re-donated a pair of pink pants that I thrifted from this exact same store. They didn't just casually still have them here, so I'm choosing these white pants instead. And then I found this white and gold-ish looking scarf. It's an infinity scarf, but I think it'll work. The purses and bags section here is really weak. There's a lot of pink, but nothing like that I really wanted, so I decided to try and find a pink sweater that I could cut up and make into like a knitted looking bag. There were obviously a ton of sweaters, it's wintertime, but I did end up finding this one, and that's the one I went with. And then I just checked a couple more racks just to make sure that I covered all of my bases and that I was leaving with what I needed. I'm about to dye everything pink. I've got a few things ready. I'll go ahead and show you. I've got pots heating up, waiting for them to boil. I have my dye colors here. This is my drink. The scarf that I'm gonna dye, the pants that I wanna dye, and then this is the pot that I use to dye stuff in. If it's gigantic. Normally I would just use this guy because it's a good size, but it's way too small for these like adult sized pants. So these will be going in here, and then I've got a clean sink next to me with hot and cold water to rinse out the clothing items after I dye them. If you choose to dye things in this method, please be very careful because this water is scalding hot. I ended up using a whole bottle of pink dye and then a partial bottle of red dye. Gotta be honest, this was too much dye for the fact that I was only coloring 2 pieces of clothing, but you know what, I'm going with it. Using the hottest water that my kitchen sink can muster, I got the pants all ready for the dye pot. I decided to just trust the process and not even test the dye color before I put the entire pair of pants in, and you know what? Good on me, because they are the exact color that I thought that they would be, so that's not bad at all. Once the pants had been in the dye for a couple of minutes, I decided to pull them out and then start rinsing out all of the excess dye from the pants using warm water that slowly got colder. And then it was the scarf's turn. I've already kind of wrapped the scarf around a hanger so that only parts of the scarf will get dyed, and then I just let it like sit in here for a minute. And once it had been in there for about 10-ish minutes, I decided to pull it out and start rinsing that out as well. I wanted to make sure that the top parts of the scarf were left white, and then I cleaned my sink out because it was completely dyed red. I threw my pants in this washing machine after I dyed them, and I always include like an old rag or a towel that can absorb all of that dye, because otherwise you're never going to get the color out of those jeans. Every time you wash them, it will dye something in that wash bin that color. This way, this towel just absorbed everything and I don't have to worry about it again. It's good to go. It's fine. Everything is dyed and it's time to get started. First off, I'd like to show you how successful this scarf was. Like, it's perfect. The spacing between the pink and the white looks so good, and it's going to add a lot of really good texture to our outfit. The pants. So the pants aren't as berry of a color as I would like. They're really more of like a bright fuchsia, but I think it's gonna work. They're definitely gonna be the most colorful part of the outfit, and we're gonna work with that. Next up, I have my yarn that I'm gonna use to put on the bell bottoms of the pants. And I'm just gonna cut that into like little strips and sew them right on. And then lastly, I have this vest and turtleneck combo. I thrifted the vest about a year ago, and this turtleneck was one that I wore when I was in elementary school. So the fact that I still have it is a little wild. I found it when I was cleaning out my sewing studio. And and lastly, I did thrift this tiny sweater. I'm going to use it as a purse. So I'm gonna cut it up and sew it together, and this will be our purse. I still need to find a blonde wig. I'm thinking I'll just use my Barbie wig, but it doesn't have bangs, so I'm gonna see if I can maybe work something out there. Let's start with the pants. I think that's gonna be my main focus today. You know what, everything. Let's try and do this all in one day. That's my goal. I'm using 2 different weights of yarn. That just means that one yarn is a bit chunkier than the other. And then I cut them to roughly about the same size and planned where I wanted to sew them onto the pants. I ended up sewing 5 to 6 strands of yarn onto the pants at a time, just placing them on and then sewing bit by bit. This method seemed to work. It did take a little bit of time, but you know what? This is working so far. Once I was done with the pants, I moved on to the purse, and I'm just using the thrifted sweater to make a purse out of. And I remember knitted purses being kind of popular in the late 90s, early 2000s. I totally read an article in like American Girl magazine that was like, use an old sweater, cut it up and sew it together to make a purse. And I was like, wow, I need this, but I couldn't cut my clothes up back then. And now that I'm an adult with adult time and money and resources, I will be cutting my clothes up to make silly things like knitted purses. I stitched this chunky piece of yarn onto the purse for the handle strap situation, and I just crocheted that so that it would be a little bit more chunky weighted, and that's the purse. Pretty easy. Full disclosure, for this wig, I did not have the right kind of wig for what it shows in the movie, so I'm really just winging it, and the inspiration kind of comes from Christina Whoterberry, but it also definitely comes from Cindy Lou Who, and I just used a spattering of materials to create this look. A braid, threw in some wire, and then stitched that onto the wig. A little bit of shaping, a little bit of forming, to the salon! That's what it felt like, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. No complaints, it looks just fine. Did my makeup. Okay, let's do this. Let's take some pictures. I'm just gonna get down underneath like one of those rocks over there and then take the video.
That's not gonna work.
Yes, it will. That one right there.
Good.
Okay, I'm ready.
Now it is.
Do it for me, Stu. Okay. Cannot convince me that Christina Whoterberry would not be an Insta girl in the Whoville universe. She has everything it takes, and I honestly wish we saw a little bit more of her throughout the video, but I understand. I did take a few liberties with the hair. It's kind of a little bit more Cindy Lou Who inspired than Christina's actual hair. I'll show that here. Part of this is I don't have a blonde wig with bangs, and the other part is I don't have a good blonde wig. This is the one that I've used for Cinderella. I used it for Taylor Swift. I've used it for pretty much everything, and at this point in time, it is so crusty. It is so dusty. It is literally just like a giant bird's nest that I can never get a comb through. And so the fact that we got here is a win, and I'm taking it. The other thing I'm just like absolutely impressed by, like I impressed myself on this one, is look at this dye job on the scarf. Like this looks like I bought it, and I love that. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. The fit of those pants. I did not try them on in the thrift store when I bought them. And if I had tried them on, I would have bought the other pair because those are low-rise jeans. I'm thinking that eventually I'm gonna get a new pair of jeans and maybe re-dye them pink, or maybe I'll just find a pair of pink jeans. I'll just kind of keep an eye out for it. And I'm gonna cut this part off so I can secure it onto a new pair of jeans, because I love this costume and I can totally see myself wearing it to like a Grinch themed holiday party, or maybe I will throw a Grinch themed holiday party and go as this character one year. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. New videos are on their way soon. I've got more holiday things coming up super, super quickly, so stay tuned for that. And remember, in this house, we craft in pajamas. Am I still in it?
Yep.